For those of you who are just joining us, my name is Christy Opero. I am the director of the Guided Personal Supports Program and Community Resource Center at Northeast Arc. Today, we have a great program. I'm going to give a little bit of a network overview and how we began. Then we will have Westfield State University Bonacos Academic Center, the Alliance on Mental Illness from Central Middlesex. We have Ruby's Rainbow, Northern Essex Community College Project Search. Then we're going to break out into question and answers and try to make it a little bit more panel style today. And then we have a wonderful resource guide to share with all of you. So we're going to try to keep it to an hour today, but we have some great things. At this time, I'm going to lead it over to Eva Mustafi. Eva Mustafi is our community resource specialist at Northeast Arc in Central Middlesex.
Thank you. I'm delighted to introduce Sarah Lazar, the director of the Bonacos Academic Center at Westfield State University. Sarah's journey is truly inspiring. During her undergraduate studies at Smith College, she struggled academically and discovered that no one had ever taught her how to learn. This pivotal realization transformed her life's direction. After learning effective study techniques, she became the coordinator of tutorial services at Smith College and later worked at Wesleyan University, overseeing disability services. In her current role at the Bonacos Academic Center, Sarah has been instrumental in supporting students with disabilities and learning challenges. Under her leadership, the center served over 1,000 students last year, providing personal academic strategies, reasonable accommodation, and access to assistive technologies. Her personal experience fuels her passion for ensuring all students have the tools they need to succeed. Please join me in welcoming Sarah Lazar, a true champion of student success.
Thank you so much, Eva. So my name is Sarah Lazar, and I am the director of the Bonacos Academic Center. I'm going to go through a short presentation with you. I really find it very personal to make sure students are prepared for college. All students and students with disabilities, it's just a little bit more because there's a lot more self-advocacy involved. So I'm going to first talk about the LDP program. This is at Westfield State University. It's a free academic support program for incoming first-year students who have at a minimum a primary or secondary diagnosis of a learning disorder and or ADHD. This is for students who are regularly matriculated into the school and are taking a degree, they're pursuing a degree. The program advisor that the student is assigned is one-point person who follows a student from orientation to graduation. This, I think, is the most valuable part of the program because what it allows for students to do is ask this person anything. The primary focus is to meet with the students once or twice a week, help with figuring out how to study, help with organizing materials or time, and finding resources. But what happens because it's just one-point person and they meet regularly, they get to know you and they get to know your strengths. They get to know some of your challenges. They get to know your interests. So the result of this relationship is that the student is provided with a lot of opportunity. The program advisor will, point out, look, here's a scholarship, or here's an internship, or if you're not quite sure which degree you're looking for right now, then let's make a schedule that will allow you to pursue either or maybe even both. So many of our students come out with double majors or a major and a minor. They've done internships, they've done study abroad. It's really a great way to make sure that the student has access to success. We'll also do, simple things like in the help with transitioning to college. How do you write to your professor? Hey, Joe, I overslept. Really sorry. Can you send me the notes? Really inappropriate. So we will walk you through an email such as that. We'll help you create questions before meeting with an office advisor, meeting with faculty open hours or office hours. so that you're directed in the discussion that you have with them. We help students figure out how to navigate college. And again, navigating colleges begins before orientation, really, and then through graduation. We meet with first and second year students each semester to help with early course registration. That allows students to set up the schedule, like I said, with planning in mind, but also it can address any sort of accommodation they might need. So we do focus on students with learning disorders or ADHD or both. And because of that, I would say 100% of our students receive extended time on exams. In college, you're not able to start a test and then finish it at the end of the day. That doesn't happen. They want you to take it in one fell swoop. So you would start it before class or you would end it after class. So we try to make sure that your schedule can accommodate the exam accommodation of time and a half or 50 or 100% extended time. Also, if someone is on a medication that's going to wear off at the end of the day, then we want to make sure the class that you're in is one that you're going to be interested in so that you will remain focused, or that you're not in classes at the end of the day. Or if you have a sleep disorder, because if you're in the LDP program, you can also have any other sort of condition and we'll address that as well. So we would work on that also with a schedule, which is a great boon. We work as, again, the 1 point person, we work with students to determine which accommodations are reasonable and appropriate. And I'm going to talk about reasonable accommodations a little bit later. And we reach out to students regularly and monitor their academic progress. I will say, though, the best way to monitor academic progress is to meet with us every week and make sure that you are telling us actually what's happening. So if I say to you, how was statistics? And you said, fine, I would then mean to you. And then you would tell me something, and then I would start asking about, how did you feel you did? What sort of grade did you get? So I'm going to, make sure I'm asking pointed questions to get at how you're really doing. So we have a priority deadline of February 1st. If people are still applying, we are still accepting applications at the it's additional information that you send in with your regular application to Westfield State University. Again, it is a free support program. It's for only incoming first year students who are going after a degree. And I don't know, I work with a great staff. I'm very happy with the students that we have. It's such fabulous. Okay, so now for general information. Every school has a disability or accessibility services. It could be student accessibility services. They have a variety of names. What they do is they provide a wide array of reasonable, appropriate accommodations for students with learning, physical, psychological, or medical challenges. At any school, and I must say, I work closely with the other sister schools like Worcester State University, Framingham State, Bridgewater, Salem. I'm missing somebody. However, we work closely. We talk every other week. So this is generalized information. We all have an office that provides this service to students. We help you figure out how to register and request accommodations. Students are expected to register with the office, not parents. So that's something that you really should be aware of as a student or as someone who is working with students, whether you're a parent or a high school personnel, that you should be training them now how to advocate for themselves, how to look up the different disability services, how to request those accommodations. Students must provide current documentation of their medical or mental health conditions for determination of disability. What I strongly recommend is that any student that you're working with, or if you are a student, to make sure that student leaves high school with a digital, like in the cloud somewhere secure, copy of their IEP, their 504, and all the underlying documentation. So if there were tests that were done, so if there were doctor's notes that came in, to make sure that they have that. Current documentation of a medical or mental health condition is often something that might need to be done within 6 months or a year of requesting the accommodation. So that's something the student should prepare for. That we're not going to take something that is for a condition that might change and is not full enough with a description of what implications of their condition is. How does it manifest? What are the limitations? What's a frequency? What's a severity? That helps us figure out how they're going to be in college, and what sort of support they might need in college. It might give them an accommodation of early course registration so that they can make sure they have enough time to walk from class to class, for example. Disability accessibility services provide support for negotiating with professors where appropriate as well. Students should not be alone in their discussions with professors. They can always ask for support from our offices. And we provide referrals to other supports on campus. I know that the people that I work with in the other universities, we all want our students to succeed. So we're going to do the best we can to provide information to them. We cannot spend an hour or two or even a half an hour with them each week. So wherever you go, you need to look at other support services. Is there tutoring? Is there writing support? Are there research librarians? It's very underused service, but find it. Is there a center with learning assistants, academic skills, academic strategies, or academic coaches? Look for math centers. At Westfield, we have one where students can go, sit down, and do their homework. And whenever they want, they look up, they find someone, they ask their question. And we strongly encourage people to do that. TRIO student support service is very important. They do provide services like the LDP. So they will sit down with people once a week. They'll review what they're doing for their courses. They'll also address other things. So if someone is a foster child or was in the DCF system, they might support them as well. We do that, just our Westfield in general, and some of the other state universities are very supportive of students who are still part of the DCF system, and we're very connected with each other and talk about how to support those students as well. Honors program. So many students think that simply because they have a disability, or they've been told, which really gets my goat, but they've been told you're never going to be in an honors program. However, honors programs, normally they just go by the GPA and maybe a few other things, and that's how you get into an honors program. So if you have a good GPA, you should check them out. And even if you don't, you might actually have a better GPA in college than you did in high school because of different levels of support and different types of support. And because you're probably more interested in the classes. So check out the honors programs. We have students who started out with really low GPA, and we've worked with them, and now they're in the honors program. Professors and instructors, mentoring, advising office, counseling services, very important to see how many appointments a student is allowed at a counseling services. And maybe you should look into getting someone who has telehealth capability so that you can continue the counseling services. Dining services, they're hospitality based, go talk with them. Residential life and student activities. So these are the other types of support services people can find on campus. I think personally that transitioning to college level support is one of the most challenging things that parents and students can go through. For parents, it's the letting go. It's allowing the student to advocate for themselves. They can learn those techniques. And I'm sure that I saw a bunch of people who work in special ed in the chat. So that's it. And sometimes parents don't believe that the student will be able to make it without them. So what I strongly recommend that you do is have the student contact, or have the student and parent contact the disability services offices where they will be. I have actually had people call me during the IEP meetings so that I could say, this is what you need to do for college, especially with students that they were concerned might not be able to do college. They weren't ready yet because they weren't independent yet, or they weren't working towards independence as a student. So I think everybody here knows that in K through 12, we have the IDEA. It provides for IEPs. Students have a free and appropriate public education. But with the IEPs, it often means that students are graded differently than peers. Sometimes they do less work. They might have shorter papers, fewer questions. They're supposed to get the concept, but they do not have to demonstrate that in as many ways as the person who's not on the IEP. And we can't do that in college. In college, you're accepted into college because we believe that you meet the standards for that college. Therefore, you're going to be treated like everybody else. You're held to the same standards, held to the same expectations. We do not modify work. You do not get less work. You rarely get extensions too, which is really important. It's something that students need to start learning how to meet the deadline, to prepare early. ADHD is not an excuse, as some people are saying. It is real. It makes it challenging. However, the student should be trained to get the work done on time, and that takes practice. And I know that a lot of students are very, very, very reluctant. And sometimes they need to hear it from me before they believe it as well. So reasonable accommodations are about access to education, not modification. You might get the assignment early. A lot of students get their assignments at the very beginning of the semester for the entire semester. And in those cases, especially, there's usually never an accommodation to get more time. To get more time, it's usually for students who have some sort of condition which will, get them into the hospital for a week. But I find that those students are the ones who actually plan the best because they're afraid that's going to happen. So if it is an episodic condition that puts them out for a few days, or they have to recover, so they've had a seizure and they need to cover and they can't get back to work for 3 days or 2 days or 1 day, those are the types of reasons why we would grant the accommodation of extended time on assignments. Okay, so anybody, I say start talking about it in 9th grade, because a lot of students take a lot of time to acclimate how they're going to need to be. I say start talking about it in 9th grade, but 10th grade, 11th grade, they should be weaning themselves off of any modifications that require them to do less work. So just a little bit about admissions. General admissions should never consider disability as a reason for accepting someone or not accepting someone into a university. I haven't heard it in a long time, but I remember about 15 years ago, I was told, well, this person can't read. I said, because the student, his father has been reading to him his entire life. And I said, that, you know what? But he's really smart. And I remember showing him Kurzweil, and it was like the heavens opened up and he could hear the readings, and it was fabulous. And he was on Dean's List the whole time. But the director of admissions at the time, not saying where I was saying, how can we admit him? And I said, you have to admit him. He's smart. He has those grades. Or, in the past, and actually still sometimes people question, well, we can't afford this hard of hearing person or this deaf person because it costs too much for an interpreter or for remote transcription services. They cannot consider that in making their decisions. And that's something that you need to make sure that and always have in the back of your head. Here's something that I just got into an argument with someone who I know about this, but an IEP and a 504 do not follow a student to the university level. What I mean by that is we need the original documents. These documents can be helpful. However, we need the original documents they were based on, or we need new documentation that describes the condition, the severity, the frequency, and we make our determination based on that. Not the admissions part, sorry, but we make our decision for accommodations based on that. The only consideration a university can consider is if the student is requested an SAT or ACT foreign language waiver, then we can look at their documentation that says whether they have a learning disability in this case. Okay, so I went through that other stuff. Reasonable accommodations. So I told you they're determined on an individualized basis. We talk students through it. We look at their documentation. We talk with the student. To prepare, it's really important that they know what their documentation says. So we reassess. There should never be costs for accommodations. There are costs for personal services such as PCAs, smart pens, those sorts of things, and we'll talk with you about them. If you have questions, call up a disability service provider at a university. I talked about exam accommodations. I want to point out two of them, a reader and a scribe. That's what we call methods level. We have someone who reads the exams or someone who writes out what the student says about the exams. At this level, they do not answer questions about the content of the test because they did not write the test. And that would be an unfair advantage if a student was able to ask questions. And it could be an unfair disadvantage because they didn't write the test. So they don't know what the professor is looking for. So look to see whether, in our case, we have an exam room and we have a system set up so students who can ask questions in class are able to ask questions in class when they're at our exam room. Note-taking assistants, know that a lot of people are going towards things like Glean, note-taking service, as opposed to peer note-takers. Peer note-takers are unreliable. They're hard to get. They might not be good. It's very challenging to get note-takers, personal note-takers. So most people do not have them on a regular basis, but only for very specific things. Extended deadlines, I talked about that. Effective communication services, I talked a bit about making sure that we have an interpreter or a remote transcription service. Talked about screen readers a bit, housing and dining. You will work with your, you will need to check to see whether you work with housing, because they sometimes have a disability services provider in housing, or if you work with disability services. All right, so especially important at the college level is that professors know only about the accommodations. They don't get a copy of the documentation, not at all. They don't get a copy of an IEP, not at all. Colleges are different in how faculty learn about accommodations. Some students are still bringing a letter to the professors. Others, emails are sent to the professor and student. Some people have database systems that work really well, which we're hoping to have soon. I talked a little bit about this. Prepare to advocate. Students should know their documentation, know what their disability is, how it affects their learning or other abilities. Students should talk about their accommodations with teachers so that they're prepared to talk about it with professors. They should be at their meetings and leading them. I say from 9th grade, but 10th grade minimum. What's been helpful? What isn't helpful? They should know how to request accommodations at the college level. Talked about getting the original reports, and above all, just contact disability services at the colleges you want to attend. Some disability services offices are low staffed, so they might have restrictions on when you can have a really full conversation with them. It might be after you pay your deposit. Others will, and those ones also might have sessions that you can attend. Okay. And for the high school personnel, or if there are any CPAC people or anybody else, if you want me or one of the other directors of one of the state colleges to come talk with you, I mean, state universities, we will. We love doing it. We want people to know this information because we don't want to see students being unable to perform in college. So, okay, so I think I talked about this. Contact. Go to their websites. That says a lot about what they are looking for with documentation. And then visit. Most important thing is go to the college. How do you feel when you step on the college? Are people saying hello to you? Do you want people to say hello to you? Then maybe that's not the right college for you. But no, really. So, you know, what kind of feel do you get from that college? And lastly, thank you. My information is in the resource guide. My name is Sarah Lazar. Just if you want to know more about Westfield, we are happy to help and work with you.
Eva, you're on mute. Should be down at the bottom. There you go.
Thank you. My mouse wasn't working. I
Oh,
apologize.
no.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing about Westfield State University's Bonacos Academic Center. Now, I would like to introduce Lori Krinsky, a president of NAMI Central Middlesex Affiliate, a nonprofit organization of volunteers, one over 20 throughout the state that are part of the larger national advocacy group. NAMI was founded in 1970s by a group of parents of young adults with mental illness who connected in a waiting room and realized that accessing mental health care was too complicated and often overwhelming. They wanted to help others avoid some of the frustrations and pitfalls and to help others know they are not alone. Unfortunately, the mental health system is still extremely difficult to navigate, as Lori learned when she helped a family member with mental health challenges. Lori determined when she could see the light at the end of the tunnel, she would work to help others on this journey. And today, Lori leads NAMI Central Middlesex, which supports families with educational classes, mental health resources, and advocacy to ensure that all people impacted by mental health conditions receive the services they need.
Hi there, everybody. I just want to offer up one point that the NAMI National Organization has created a mental health college guide. It's an online opportunity to kind of explore some of the things I'm going to talk about, and it just gives you an opportunity to think about the situation you're going to be putting yourself into if you go to college with a mental health condition. So that'll be in the resource guide. Look for that, please. My presentation is going to be in 3 sections. The first section is called Before You Go. The second section is called First Term. And the third section is called Escalating Symptoms. So we'll get started. Almost all colleges now have some sort of structure to support student mental health. Before you go, you want to find out exactly what they really do have. Dig through the website, ask questions, make some phone calls. Figure out what the mental health services are on campus. You want to distinguish between supported and sustained services and programs versus opportunities run by student volunteers. The student programs may not always be viable. They may have some really nifty peer support opportunities, but that might be dependent on a group of students being available to run it. So pay attention and find out what's really consistently available. You also need to recognize that services will have limitations. There will likely be counseling appointments listed there, but they will only be available as short-term episodic care, not a weekly appointment semester after semester. You cannot depend on the college to be a counseling service for you consistently throughout your time there. They don't staff up for that. You don't get to have free mental health care at college. Check the behavioral health staff load. What is the rate of counselors to the number of students? That will give you an idea potentially of what the wait might be to get a counseling appointment. Do they have on-call clinician opportunities for 24/7 concerns or offer up a number for access to some sort of crisis team? Do they offer training for staff and students that encourage conversations about mental health and a supportive community that make people feel comfortable raising their hands for services? My next point under this section was the support service offices, and Sarah did an excellent job of explaining the relationship to the accessibility office, students' responsibility to be in the know on that kind of situation. For mental health concerns specifically, you need to think about that sometimes students go into a college environment and say, I don't need that stuff I had in high school. I'm in a different state right now. I'm not going to bother with that stuff. But it's important to get those supports in. You may not feel like you need them consistently, but we know that mental health symptoms sometimes ebb and flow. They often ebb and flow. And the load that you're carrying and your ability to cope with it may shift. So don't skip out on the opportunity to have supports when you need it. One other thing to think about is living arrangements. If your plan includes living on campus, think about what sort of arrangement might work best for you. Some people think immediately, well, I'd like my private room so I can have my, concerns on to myself, but that might end up being too isolating. And that's one of a big risk of being isolated with mental health concerns. Having someone present to chat with and create structure as a roommate might feel supportive to you. And that person doesn't have to be your best friend. Roommate's a different relationship. My next point is life skills. And Sarah also talked about, growing independence, taking care of things on your own. Laundry comes to mind. Practice doing laundry. Practice doing independent things that you're going to have to take care of so that when you get to school, that's not one more new thing to think about. Some things specific to mental health might be prescriptions. Are you taking a prescription? Does your mom call CVS and get the renewal for you and pick it up for you? Practice taking care of that. Therapy appointments. Are you in charge of setting up your therapy appointments? Do you follow up with the billing business? You're going to be an adult in this situation now. You need to practice doing that. If you're used to seeing a therapist in person, practice doing it remotely, potentially, if that's the plan when you go into a college environment. Please keep in mind for any kind of remote therapy scenario, clinicians are licensed for the state that they practice in. So you may be seeing someone in Massachusetts who is likely only licensed to practice in the state of Massachusetts. If your student goes to Indiana, that is not legal for the Massachusetts clinician to be providing services in Indiana. So call your provider, call your insurance company. Don't get caught in a situation where you've got a whole year's worth of clinical bills and the insurance company saying, we're not paying for those. She's out of state. Family communication is also important to think about. You want to make a family communication plan. You don't have to promise that you're going to text every single day, but maybe Sunday becomes designated as International Call Your Mom Day, all right? You want to make a plan to talk about the fun stuff, talk about the academics, but plan to talk about the pressure points too. Go ahead and say, how is your anxiety level this week? It's helpful for students to make and verbalize self-assessment so that they can determine if self-care or other supports need to be tapped or adjusted for what's going on right now. Your dad shouldn't try to be a therapist, but certainly, get used to having conversations with them about what's going on. Next section is the first term. Managing a daily college schedule. When it's written down, it looks like it's not that big of a deal, but it's a giant change for folks. Many might want to plan ahead and secure a more likelihood for having a win for the first semester by taking a smaller load of classes. That's fine to do that. Everybody, but potentially in many cases, people who manage mental health conditions need to think about timing self-care into their schedule for the week. Exercise and movement are important. Maybe you want to say to yourself, I'm going to walk before my Tuesday, Thursday class, and in the morning and in the afternoon on Wednesday and Friday, I'll do the walk after my second class instead. Many people need to think about balancing alone time versus people time. What recharges you? Do you need to give yourself a half an hour of quiet every day? Go outside in nature. That makes a big difference for many people. Maybe 10 minutes a day of meditation would be a good practice, or a deep breathing practice on a daily basis that gets you centered. Another thing to consider is disclosing a diagnosis. As Sarah noted, the accommodations plan doesn't have that on there, but you should think about it, and there may be situations coming up where people will ask, and you have to decide what you might want to say. When you're having a communication with your teacher about your accommodations, and again, you can decide, depending on your situation, you might say, I live with bipolar. Tough times for me are often in December and March, and those are the periods where I may need more conversation with you and working together on getting me to the finish line. You need to be confident and straightforward. You have to be your own best advocate in these kind of situations. Other times when questions about diagnosis might come up, a roommate or somebody else might see you taking medication. They might ask a question. Your answer can be, I'd rather not share. Your answer can be, it keeps my depression in check. Please don't share my diagnosis with others. Or your answer might be, yes, I live with depression. Would you like to learn more about it? So kind of pre-game what you might want to share with people and who you want to share it with and what you want to say. Making connections on campus in the first term is important, and generally across the board. Don't let your accommodation discussion with your teacher be your only conversation with that person. Make an effort to chat with them. Say hello when you see them on campus. The more they know you personally, the more likely they'll be able to have a constructive conversation with you in the future. Reach out to other students. Everybody's looking for new connections during the first term. Not feeling connected socially to the campus community is often reported as a reason for dropping out. Schools create opportunities for mixing. People should take advantage of those. And the last point in this section is home. Give in to nagging homesickness once in a while. In a recent webinar, a NAMI college student said, quote, "You will burn out if you stop communicating with or seeing your family," unquote. And my last section is escalating symptoms. Mental health concerns are common among college students, so they are never alone. School administrators know that increases in mental health concerns across the campus can sometimes be cyclical, such as during midterms. And our National Institute of Health statistics tell us that 1 in 5 adults in the US live with a mental health concern. 1 in 20 live with a serious mental illness, things like bipolar, major depression, schizophrenia, acute PTSD, OCD, borderline personality disorder. Of that group of people, in 50% of the cases, symptoms appear before age 14. In 75% of the cases, symptoms appear before age 24. So the college timeframe is a time for sometimes new symptoms to show up for people. Sometimes an individual's symptoms will escalate outside of environmental concerns. It just doesn't have anything to do with what's going on campus. It's just the chemistry that's happening right now. For some, escalating symptoms may prove overwhelming, even leading to self-harm. Many schools have some sort of behavioral intervention team that reach out to students that were identified as potentially being at risk by someone else on the campus. Residential staff might notice that someone hasn't left the room for a few days. Teachers notice a drop-off in submission work. That's part of the beginning comment I made about before you go. Find out if the campus is a place where they work to educate people to open up conversations about mental health concerns and make people feel comfortable to talk about it. In situations when parents have strong concerns, their best approach is usually to contact the dean's office rather than residential services or some other office to request a wellness check. And keep in mind, Sarah's touched a little bit on the privacy issues, but the students fall under the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. That's FERPA. So the school's not really going to talk to you about your child's schedule, your grades, or the tuition bill unless the student signs a permission form to share that information. That form doesn't give you access to information about whether your student is at counseling appointments, and they're certainly not going to share information about those sessions. FERPA and HIPAA, the health privacy law, are in effect now that your student is an adult. The school is not going to call you with these kind of concerns. If a student is medically transported to a hospital for mental health, unconscious, drugs, broken leg, whatever, school staff can contact parents in those kind of situations. For some whose symptoms become overwhelming, a medical leave may be in order. Schools have procedures and policies for this that vary dramatically. Find out about them ahead of time. Some schools will give you the opportunity to purchase tuition insurance at the start of the school year. Read the fine print on those contracts, see if that seems like it would work for you. Please keep in mind that it's okay if your path varies from others or takes some turns. Your health comes first. Community colleges can often be a good place to build skills and begin a college career. They're also generally adept at welcoming students during or after a leave. Remember that there are alternate paths to a degree and plenty of other life choice opportunities. Enjoy the ride. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Lori, for sharing all of that information about mental health within the college setting. It was very informative. So before we move on to our next speakers, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Chris Marchese. I am the Community Resource Specialist for the Merrimack Valley Area Office DDS region based out of Lawrence. That includes 15 communities from Lawrence, Methuen, North Andover, all the way over to Salisbury, Newburyport, and Rowley. So a large span of area that we're covering. And next, I want to introduce the co-founder and executive director of Ruby's Rainbow, Liz Plachta. Liz, who is Ruby's mom, stepped up to serve as executive director of this rapidly growing nonprofit in 2016. Ruby's Rainbow has remained true to its roots, still being largely volunteer run by the friends and loved ones of those with Down syndrome. Liz started Ruby's Rainbow because she wanted to give her children the best possible start in life and raising money for their education. And in the process, they began helping to provide that chance to other children with Down syndrome who are pursuing higher education. We are grateful to share the mission of Ruby's Rainbow to grant scholarships to students with Down syndrome and raise awareness about just how much determination and perseverance they have. Please welcome Liz Plachta.
Unmute myself. Hi guys, thanks for having me. I am very honored to be here. A little bit about Ruby's Rainbow. I know Chris kind of touched on it a little bit. I started Ruby's Rainbow shortly after my youngest daughter, Ruby, was born unexpectedly rocking an extra chromosome. I didn't know anything about Down syndrome or anybody with Down syndrome before she was born. But the second I held her, I knew that, I wanted the world to see what I saw in her, that she was amazing and capable and worthy of it all. And so after I got her home from the hospital, I started kind of, my heart just wouldn't let me not do something. And I started just kind of researching opportunities and things that were available for people with Down syndrome. And there's so much for the little guys, which is great. It kind of helps them get to, this where they can go to these post-secondary programs. But I just noticed that there was just kind of a huge drop off once they got older. And so I wanted her to have all the same opportunities. Sorry, my cat's on my lap. I wanted her to have all the same opportunities that her big sister has. She's got a 16-year-old. I have another daughter who's 2 years older. Ruby's 14 and LMA is 16. And I just wanted to be sure that she had all those same opportunities. And college was one of them. When we started Ruby's Rainbow, I really didn't even know if people with Down syndrome were going to college. I just knew that I wanted to help somebody like my daughter be the best that they could be. So we had a goal of one $2,000 scholarship that year. We were able to give out 11 $2,000 scholarships, which to me was, I thought, woohoo, we've hit the big time. And then fast forward to this past year, we were able to give out $600,000 in scholarships to 143 amazing, capable humans rocking that extra chromosome, just like my daughter. So it really has been an amazing journey. It's 3.2 million, over 3.2 million in scholarships that we've been able to give out, 883 of those. And it's just been so cool to see not only, I just kind of get a front row seat into the possibilities of the future. So the second part of our mission is that sharing piece of just really showing the world that people with Down syndrome are amazing and capable and worthy of it all. And so, we do a ton of storytelling. I get to visit a lot of college campuses that our recipients are on, which is super amazing because I, kind of get to see firsthand how these college programs are not only changing the lives of our recipients, but, changing the lives of everybody around them, and how important and valued having our recipients and just people with disabilities in general on college campuses, is just such an important part of the campus culture. So like I said, I've kind of been able to visit a lot of college campuses, which has been really cool. We have recipients from coast to coast that are, attending programs that are residential, where they live on campus. It's a 4-year, inclusive program where they're living on campus, to, they're commuting for community college programs, which they're all, what I love right now is if you go to thinkcollege.net, I think there's like over 350 programs across the nation, specifically for people that have intellectual disabilities. And it just continues to grow. And now you can seek out, there's options, because one program might not be the right fit for the student. So you can kind of just mix and match and do your research and find one that, will work. I am hoping that Ruby will go to, one of the 4-year residential programs, because I think that that would be the best fit for her, where she can step away from me and really just learn and grow through that independence. I mean, I've seen, it's really cool because as a mom, I get to talk to other parents about how these programs are changing their kids' lives. They'll leave for their first year and then come home at Thanksgiving, and the parents are like, who is this kid that came back? They're doing their own laundry, and they're scheduling, they're already looking for jobs when they come home, for the holidays, and taking charge of their life. And it's just really cool to see how much it's changing their lives. Our scholarships are actually, our application deadline is today, although we've had some technical difficulties, so we're thinking about moving it till tomorrow. There's been some glitches in the application, so we're thinking about extending it one more day. But it usually opens January 1 and goes till around this time, mid-April. Our scholarships are between $1,000 and $10,000. We ask that the applicant, when they apply, that they apply for what they can utilize within 1 year's time, because we try to utilize our funds to help as many people as we can each year. So yeah, our application process, you can go find it on our website, rubysrainbow.org. And the applicant has to be 18 years of age and older. They have to have Down syndrome, so rocking an extra chromosome, just like Ruby. And the pursuing post-secondary education. They can be 18 by, because some people have graduated and haven't turned 18 yet. So I think it's by August 1st that they have to be 18. But anyway, we've had recipients, there's no, like, our oldest recipient, Mark Hubler, is 62. We gave him a scholarship in I think he was 2015 or 16, to go to Jefferson Technical Community College so he could pursue his dream of being a public speaker. And he now is traveling the country giving speeches on inclusion and diversity, and how dreaming big can change somebody's life, and just believing in somebody can change somebody's life. So it really has been cool to see, just be able to help in some way. And then I also get to see, what a difference it's making in their lives and the lives of everybody around them. So yeah, the application process on our website, we've got the rubric. We really want to set our applicants up for success. So we've got the rubric on there. We've got several videos of me and one of my employees flapping our gums through the entire application, just really going through it piece by piece and letting them know exactly what our reviewers are looking for. And so they can present their best application possible. We always ask that the applicant fill out the application as much as they can on their own first, because we want to hear their voice. And then, but we also strongly suggest that if they need assistance, that we really want them to get that help that they need, so we can learn as much about them as possible and really get to know them as much as possible. So yeah, I don't know if there was any, I know we're going to have questions later. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. But our website is a great resource for helping somebody, submit their best application. And we're always here for support. We really, hanging out with people with Down syndrome is my jam. I love it. It's one of my favorite parts about what I do. I get to, like I said, I didn't know anybody with Down syndrome before Ruby was born, which makes me so sad now, because I had all those years without the magic of, having that extra chromosome in my life. So anyway, I'll be around for questions if anybody has any questions.
All right, well, thank you, Liz, for that wonderful presentation and for highlighting that the deadline for the scholarship is today or tomorrow, depending on whenever.
Yes.
So to move on, and up next, I want to share another amazing program that is taking place at the Northern Essex Community College campus through Opportunity Works. Project Search may have started small, but since 1996, it has grown to over 300 program sites internationally. NECC and Opportunity Works began as partners for Project Search in 2014. And today, Project Search works with over 30 departments at Northern Essex Community College. Their goal of integrating classroom training, career exploration opportunities, and worksite internships means that students with intellectual and developmental disabilities will be prepared for life after transition, armed with the skills to find meaningful employment, advocate for themselves, and do whatever they desire in life. With a program structure based around class attendance and participation, Project Search's model offers a unique way for students to prepare for the next step in their journey. Please join me in welcoming Project Search Director Jessica Del Rosso and Project Search Manager Lynette Clark.
Hello. Let's see, share. Everyone, my name is Jessica Del Rosso. I'm the Director of Community Services here at Opportunity Works. Project Search is one of the programs that I oversee. And to my left,
this is Lynette Clark, and I'm the Project Search Manager.
So Project Search is a one-year employment prep program that takes place at Northern Essex Community College. Our classroom is based out of the Haverhill NECO campus, but we do have internships at the Lawrence campus as well. So our program works on a combination of classroom instruction, hands-on learning through internship rotations at the school, and culminates individualized job development. So the goal for each intern that comes through our program is competitive employment. So to reach that goal, we provide real life work experiences combined with training and employability skills training and living skills to help these individuals with disabilities make successful transitions into adult life and getting their dream job. So Project Search involves an extensive period of skills training and career exploration, long-term job coaching through our company, and continuous learning from teachers, our skills trainers in the program, and employers. So as a result, of the completion of the program, we have our individuals employed in non-traditional, complex, and rewarding jobs that they want for their future. In addition, the Project Search program can bring long-term change in business culture that has positive effects and attitudes on hiring people with disabilities and the range of jobs in which they can be successful in. So eligibility for our program. So Project Search serves young individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and on the autism spectrum. Typically, the individuals are high school graduates with an IEP, but we also do serve out of school youth and young adults who are beyond school age. Some people who have graduated and they had a job, but they're trying for job, and they're unsuccessful. It's a great program to teach them those skills in order to be successful at their current job or future jobs. Again, the most important criteria on getting accepted into our program is the desire to want and get a competitive job at the end of our program. So each year, the program participants, the interns, attend our program at NECC in Haverhill for a full school year. So it's 9 months long. We start in September and they graduate usually at the end of May or the first week in June. So we have a classroom on the NECO's campus, which can accommodate up to 12 interns each year. Our staff is a Project Search manager. We have a skills trainer, and we also have a campus coordinator to help, train and, you know, do all the things and that we need through our internships. Once our internship year begins, the first few weeks are focused on orientation. So we really get our interns acclimated to the campus, both campuses. We get them to know one another. We bring them around to show them the internships that they're going to have that semester. They get to meet their supervisors and really get, you know, hands-on at each internship before they get to choose their top 5 choices that they would like to participate in. We do a lot of going around campus and a lot of
Team building.
yeah, team building and stuff to really get them comfortable with one another and the college campus before they start their internships. The interns develop a career plan, which helps, you know, guide them into picking their internship that they want and searching for the job that they want. So during 9 months, we have 3 different rounds of internships for our interns. All are roughly 10 weeks long, unpaid internships. But this is going to help them, you know, gain skills that they want to and a career choice that they want. We have, I think, like 16, 17 different internships now on campus. When they first started years ago, they had about 4 or 5. So each year we keep gaining new internships, which is amazing. A few to point out that we have is a cafe that we run. It's called the Perfect Blend Cafe in the C building of our campus. So this is all run by individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Looks like we might be having some technical difficulties with Jessica. Hopefully she will pop back in here in a minute. If not, oh. Hi,
Are we good?
Jessica, can you hear us?
Hi. Yes.
I think you're back.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, very good.
So yes, we have, I'm not sure where I cut off, but we have 3 different rounds of internships here on campus. We have a lot of different internships, which is nice to get, you know, the experience in different departments. One is a cafe that we run fully by individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. They get to make, you know, all the food there. They make paninis. We serve pizza and salads and a lot of grab and go foods, soups, tons of things like that, which is nice to be in that food department. We also run a snack bar that is fully independently run by an intern. We have reception jobs. One that we have is at Opportunity Works. We have internships at finance departments on campus. We have an internship at Gallaudet University, which is a university for individuals who are deaf. So we have an intern interning there. We have medical stocking and administration internships. We have the NECC police and the campus comfort dog internship. We have maintenance departments. We have gym and a lot of different cleaning and stocking internships. So there's a lot of different internships that are geared towards different, you know, job opportunities for individuals. So it's a great opportunity for them. Interns build communication, teamwork, and problem-solving skills, which is very important for them in their overall development as a young worker. These are all paid experiences, but it's great for them to have these kind of opportunities there. And each internship site is identified through, you know, a collaboration process between Lynette, myself, our skills trainer, our business liaison at the school, the departments on campus. So our typical daily schedule is from 9 to 3. 9 o'clock, our interns get dropped off from college. Usually, some of them do drive to our campus if they have their license, which is great. A lot of them get picked up from the MEVA transportation. So they get dropped off at 9 o'clock. We have our employability skills class at 9 to 10 every morning. So this is where they learn all different things based on employability skills. From 10 to 12, they go off to their internship site. So this can be either at the Haverhill campus or the Lawrence campus. And then 12 to 12:30, they have a lunch break, which they're encouraged to eat with their coworkers and supervisors to, you know, gain those skills and learn. That's what we usually do during your lunch period. 12:30 to 2, they go return to their internship site. This could be a different internship that they have, or it could be the same one. And then 2:30, we do a reflection and daily wrap up. So this is where the interns come back to the classroom. We talk about, how their day was. Did they have any hiccups? Do they need any accommodations? They reflect on their day. Each month, the interns choose a goal that they want to work on for themselves. So it can be something as simple as I will raise my hand in class, or I will ask for help when needed. It just gets them to work on something each 9 months that they're in the program with us. And then they get dismissed around 2:45, 3 o'clock, where they take either transportation or they drive themselves home. So the 9 to 10 o'clock is our employabilities class. This is where our campus coordinator teaches all different things based on these skills below. So team building we work on, we do a lot of workplace safety. Technology is where, we have interns create professional emails, teaching them how to email, typing up their resume. During the year, we do a presentation for the school and a lot of our departments on their own disability. So they get to research their disability, find out what their disability is if they don't know, and make a presentation and present that to us, which is always so fun. Maintaining employment we go over. We do a lot of self-advocacy, financial literacy. So we have a guest speaker for all of these different skills that we teach. So we had someone come in from a bank and they were able to talk about savings accounts and checkings accounts and debit cards and balancing and how to save money, how to open up a bank account, all that different stuff. Health and wellness, and a few others. So we do have a dress code. This is to help individuals learn how we're supposed to be dressing when we get a job. So we have them, wearing business casual clothes, and they learn if they're in a certain internship, they might have to follow certain rules. So in the cafe, they have to wear a hat or a hairnet. They wear a black shirt. They have to wear an apron. So these things are all taught when they get those certain internships that they want. Sometimes when they have the police department, they wear a police vest to go along with the police officers. And then a lot of different safety things where, flip-flops aren't allowed in most internships. Sneakers have to be allowed in the cafe and things like that. So attendance is a huge part of this program. Each intern is expected to arrive Monday through Friday from 9 to 3 and treat it like a job. We also do a timed off request sheet. So each intern, if they need to take a time off, just like any of us who have jobs, we have to fill out a time request off and get it approved by their supervisor. These things that we teach them throughout the year are to make them as independent as they can be in order to get their dream job and keep their dream job. So we show them how to request time off, whether it's a vacation, or a personal day, or they have an appointment, how to fill that out, get it approved, and give it back. And then we make sure that our interns, if they are out, they call us, they call their supervisor, and they let their transportation know that they don't need or they're not coming in that day. And we're trying to get it so the parents aren't doing that all the time. Independence is a very, very, very big part of our program. So we strive for independence here. We want the interns responsible for calling, like I said, and canceling their transportation, letting us know, the staff for Project Search, if they're going to be out or if they're going to be late, and their supervisor as well. So we do have a shuttle that goes from our Haverhill to Lawrence campus. So that is how our interns get from one campus to the other if they have internships on that site. It's a very safe option for our interns. It is driven by a student that is on campus, and it's only for interns or the students on both campuses. So we have a campus coordinator, like I said, and skills trainer. The campus coordinator is the one who usually teaches the classes and goes over, evaluations and things like that throughout the year. And our skills trainer really goes with them to their internships and checks in with their supervisors, seeing if there's any accommodations they need or in any way that they can help them become more successful, or if they have a hiccup, if they need help with something, really helping them in those areas. So we do evaluations throughout the year, 3 different evaluations for our interns. And this is really just to get them to understand areas that they need more support in, or things that they need to work on, or things they're doing really great on. So we really go over attendance, their class participation. So are they participating well? And work evaluation. So at the end of our year, once they're graduating around the 9 months, we do bring in our job developers from Opportunity Works. And they really work hand in hand with our guys once they graduate. So a lot of our guys, once they graduate from our program, go into Community Works, which is a CBDS without walls program through Opportunity Works, where it's all volunteer sites. But when working with that, we also set our interns up with job developers. So they typically do that like 2 days a week. These job developers really get to know our guys within the last couple months of our program, and they bring them to job interviews. They help them with interviewing. They help them refine and create better resumes. They do job searching around their houses or communities. And if you want to share.
Yes, so I wanted to also highlight one of our past graduates, Claudia. She was an intern who was hired by one of her internships, the Perfect Blend Cafe. And while she was there, she was able to connect with the Northern Essex Community College faculty, and she got a grant for early childhood education program. Just recently, she just received the DDS Regional Award for her accomplishments. We are very proud of her and everything that she's worked through at the college. And, from being an intern to now being a student is wonderful. And she's also working in her field. So she does like PCA with someone. And we're just really proud to see the connections that our interns have with the college. And, when we are, the year starts, people from the college come in and they always encourage our interns to come become a student after you finish this program. And it's great to see both of them balance both, working and also going to school. We have extended our project search application. It was actually this Wednesday is the due date, but we extended it to May. So if anybody is interested or they know anyone that would be great for this program, you can go to the opportunityworks.org website and find my email or reach out to Jessica. We would love to do a tour. I've done multiple tours. So if anybody's interested and want to know more, they're welcome to reach out. And I would love to give you a tour of the campus and talk a little bit about what we do there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica and Lynette. That was such a wonderful background on the whole program that you guys offer. At this time, we're going to jump into our question and answers. I know we have a couple of questions out there. My slides back up here. And we have a couple of questions coming in. Feel free to drop your questions either in the chat or raise your hand, and we can call on you. So one of our first questions that we have is primarily geared towards Project Search and Sarah over at Westfield State. What does someone need to succeed within your programs? Would be one of the top.
So, first they need to get in. So if you were talking specifically about the LDP program, Learning Disabilities Program, they need to have a learning disability. They need to have an ADHD or ADHD. They could have any other condition, that's fine. They need to demonstrate that they can be independent students in college. We are looking for a 2.5 GPA. They need to meet the requirements of any student applying to a Massachusetts university. That means that if they are in a school like a therapeutic school, those courses must be college prep courses. We actually have had a rise in applications from therapeutic schools, and we find that students are often not prepared because they are allowed to leave class whenever they want. They're just things that we cannot do in the university setting. So they're allowed to leave class whenever they want, to take their breaks. And they often, do not come back. Sometimes we talk with these students because we don't want to just, rule them out just because they went to a therapeutic school. But we want to make sure that students understand how different it is. So if you have any students coming from therapeutic schools, we strongly recommend that you call us up. talk to us about what college is like in general. I will talk with parents and students together, or students and counselors together. It's really important that they can be independent, that they can participate in the class, meet the expectations, not just the academic expectations, but how you perform in the classroom, which means that you got to be in the classroom. So yeah, that's what they need to survive. And then they need to come meet with us regularly. If they don't, then forget
it. Excellent. Thank you, Sarah.
I think to piggyback off of Sarah too, so for Project Search, it's a big indicator, for someone who wants to get a job at the end of it. We can't stress that enough. That is a huge part of their program. They learn so many different skills there that help them become so independent. Our success rate is 89%, I believe. Within the last few years, we've had years that we've have 100% people who have jobs. It's amazing. We don't have, we need someone to be mostly independent in this program. Some internships, supervisors are having them walk across campus to go deliver mail. We do have internships that are direct supervision, but a lot of our internships aren't direct supervision. So I think, the independence portion of that, coming to class attendance is a huge thing for our program. Again, you are treating this like your job. It's a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday opportunity. And the things that they learn there are super important for them to be successful and to learn those skills. So I think that's probably the biggest qualifiers for our program.
Jessica,
question,
would you add taking the initiative as one thing they must be able to do? That's a problem that I've been seeing a lot lately with students, is that they don't take the initiative. And I imagine that you're seeing that in your program as well.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
And then to answer the question, we also do accept people with autism in our program as well. So yes.
And I think also we do give accommodations, because in the past we've had people, we do have Spanish speaking staff where either it's a language barrier or they can't read or write. You can still complete our program even if you have those where you can't read or write. We've had successful graduates who have a job and are, employee of the month. We can accommodate to a lot. And there is a process of applying, and then we do an assessment day and interview, and that's how we can see if they're a right fit for our program as well.
That's great. Thank you. Sarah, this question is for you. If someone with ADD and ASD starts at North Shore Community College but wants to go to Westfield, is it possible to be part of the Bonacos Academic Center?
All right, Susan, I think that's from you. I'm going to start first with, if any student goes to North Shore Community College and wants to go to Westfield, is it possible for them to be part of the Bonacos Academic Center? The answer is yes. However, it is not possible for them to be part of the Learning Disabilities Program, the LDP program, because they would be a transfer student. They would get their accommodations through disability services. Is that clear?
That's great. Thank you, Sarah. And then what are some of your number one tips from transitioning from an IEP to your program? I know you touched on it a little bit.
So what are the tips?
Yeah, just a number one tip that you would find.
Know what your conditions, disabilities are, how they affect you, how they limit you, how they serve you, and be able to talk about them is number one. The talk about them is number two.
Excellent. Thank you. And then if anybody else has any other questions, I don't see any hands raised at this time, but feel free to put your question in the chat. And then we're gonna move on because I know we're a little over on time.
Oh, I think we have one more
answer your
question.
question. Yes, Project Search is a DDS funded program.
Excellent.
I tried to answer a bunch of questions in the chat while people were talking.
Oh, thank you. And
Yeah.
just so everyone knows as well, we are going to be sharing out all of the slides from today. They're sharing the recording, and then all of our events that are coming up. This resource guide will be also shared out to everyone. Has disability services, MAPC, college and post-high school opportunities, as well as diving into mental health resources within college. For our next upcoming,
Can I say something
Eva.
just really quickly?
Yes.
Really quickly. Okay, so someone did ask about early course registration. That is an accommodation. It's a reasonable accommodation that we can request at any school. Some of them already have them in place. But that also goes along with reduced course load, and that can also be a reasonable accommodation, but there are limitations to financial aid, sports, scholarships, and insurance. So those are things to look out for.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Eva, I see you have your hand raised as well.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick question, actually, back to Sarah. You have spoken about the difference between just the academic support services at schools and also the specific program that is free at your university that provides that one-on-one coaching, the meetings of the students where you guys help navigate those executive function needs of the students coming often from public schools. Could you speak a little more about the differentiation about that? Why is it so important to have that, kind of like weekly check-ins? And when parents are looking for those schools, what should they be asking? What should they be really looking at when they are visiting those campus colleges when it comes to that college navigation and also those support services and mentoring on campuses as well? Thank you.
Right. Every student's an individual. So some students are absolutely fine coming to Westfield State University and we just walk along beside them. They do not have to take extra courses for the LDP program and for the other support service. So we also have lead scholars, which is for first generation college students. And we have TRIO student support services, which is for either students with disability, low income students, or I can't remember the third category right now, but you can look it up. I put a link in the chat. So it's most important to have one person that a student can go and talk with and ask questions about, whether they make that mentor type person in a program or whether it is in the specific field that they're going into. So I know some of our departments or disciplines are very, very hands-on and will work one-on-one with students more than others. So that is what's most important, having that one point person. But then again, I had the slide, which they're going to share with a list of all the other types of services around, which you should definitely look at. But having that one point person, finding that one person they're going to meet with on a regular basis is just crucial to making sure the student has access to someone they can ask questions of when they have challenges. Or someone who's going to celebrate the great things that they've done as well. Does that answer it, Eva?
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Okay, great.
Thanks. So for our next sessions that we have coming up, we're going to take a month off from our virtual sessions with the entire network because next month we will be hosting our first professional development series in-house at the Liberty Tree Mall in the Center for Linking Lives. There's a QR code. It will also be emailed out in the email after this. We are going to be focusing on independent living skills and strategies within the classroom and beyond. And then in June, we'll have the entire network back for DDS 101. I know that there are so many questions around DDS services within transition time and then what happens after transition. Then we will have 3 working groups. These working groups are workshops for parents, caregivers, and individuals. The first one is for students. It's called A Day in the Life. It's going to be a 2-part workshop series that kind of dives into daily activities and things that are in your life that help create a meaningful life. And then the letter of intent and doc box are two working groups for parents and caregivers. These will be two-part series each in June and July. And then feel free to reach out to us. Our email is communityresourcecenter@ne-arc.org. Feel free to visit our website at ecommunityconnections.org. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you again to all of our presenters. We really appreciate you sharing your view on college and post secondary opportunities. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.